Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankarvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vansharshibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyah. Sarvopaplavarahitah Pragnanaganah Pratyagartho Brahmaivahamasmi Brahmaivahamasmi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitan yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Stushtvagumsastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitan Yadayuhu Swasti na Indra Vruddhashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedhaha Swasti na Starksho Arishtanemihi Swasti na Brahaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Mantra number 4. Tasmai sahovacha Dve vidye veditavye iti Hasma Yad Brahma Vido Vadanti Parachaiva aparacha Tatra apara Rugvedo Yajurvedo Samavedo Atharvavedaha Shiksha Kalpo Vyakaranam Niruktam Chando Jyotishamiti Athapara Yaya Tadaksharam Adhigamyate. Last time we discussed, teacher said, all disciplines of knowledge of the time, all the 4 Vedas and Vedangas are aparavidya. The student has asked for paravidya. Now the question comes, if Vedas are aparavidya, what about Upanishad? You say Upanishad is pramanam for Brahmagnanam, and Upanishad being a part of Veda, from the statement of the Shruti, it becomes aparavidya, not the paravidya. To which the answer is given, it is not the words, just knowing the words or simply knowing the translation of the words is apravidya. Knowing the meaning of the words, and if I use this particular word, quote unquote, assimilating that wisdom with reference to myself, that cognition, aham brahmasmi, caused by studying or exposing myself to the teacher, competent teacher with proper attitude, who teaches Upanishad, is Paravidya. And we also saw this Paravidya and Aparavidya are totally different. In case of Aparavidya, there is a siddhi. One accomplishes something, but the accomplishment doesn't take place in a sense. One doesn't discover the fullness, the ananda that is oneself. And it is only through Paravidya one gains or owns of the self, and all the pursuit comes to an end. The accomplishment through Paravidya is of something which is already accomplished. The self is there. It is in a way discovering myself to be what I am not, anatma, and what I am, purnaha. So the whole pursuit comes to an end by knowledge itself. So gnana praptihi and phala praptihi, they are simultaneous. Gaining the knowledge and gaining the result of the knowledge is simultaneous, not like Aparavidya. Having gained knowledge, the karma is expected, which is not the case in case of Paravidya. So gnanam eva mukti. Okay? Gnanad eva kaivalyam. There's a vakya of the Shruti. Gaining knowledge or having knowledge itself is freedom. Now, the Shruti, Shruti is unfolding the Brahman, that is the subject matter, or that is the Paravidya. There are vakyas in the Shruti. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman. When you say this, or we say that everything is non-separate from Ishvara, when we say this, it implies two categories. One is Brahman and other is everything. That everything is said to be Brahman, is taught to be Brahman. If it is Brahman and if this is Brahman, there is a need of this statement that Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahman, when everything is Brahman. Because we have to understand, the question was, Kasminnu Bhagavo Vignate Sarvamidam Vignatam Bhavati. Knowing what? Knowing which? Everything becomes known as well. To understand this, or to know everything as well, we have to be clear about the relationship between Brahman and the creation. There are statements, tasmad va etasmad atmanah akashas sambhutaha akashad va. There is other Brahman, satyam gnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame bhyoman so oshnute sarvan kamaan saha brahmana vipaschiteti tasmad va etasmad. Whole creation has come out of Brahman, is born out of Brahman. Brahman is the cause of creation. There is a peculiar relationship between Brahman and so-called this everything. Two things. Without undergoing any change, without undergoing any modification, Brahman creates as though, into bracket, everything. One thing. And second, that everything else is non-separate from Brahman, is never ever independent of Brahman. Whereas Brahman is independent of everything. In other words, so-called everything is because Brahman is. But Brahman is because Brahman is. It exists independently. It exists on its own. So, that being a case, without undergoing any intrinsic change, it becomes everything, and that everything is non-separate from Brahman. We can say, knowing one thing, everything becomes as well known. Or knowing Brahman, everything becomes as well known. Last time I gave example of the goldsmith shop. Thousands of ornaments in gold. Everything is gold, meaning thereby gold as though becomes ornaments without undergoing any intrinsic change. And all these thousands of ornaments are non-separate from the gold. They are never ever independent of the gold. They exist because the gold exists. They have borrowed existence. Whereas, with reference to ornaments, gold has independent existence. The gold is because gold is. With reference to ornament, we can say that. To explain this, the next portion of the Shruti talks about Brahman, the nature of the Brahman, and the creation, and the relationship of the creation with the Brahman that is revealed here. The purpose of this discussion is there is nothing other than Brahman. Or whatever is Brahman. Sarvam khalu idam Brahman. To unfold that fact, Shruti talks this next section. And first of all, in the next mantra, Shruti talks about Brahman as it is. What's his nature? Look at the mantra. Mantra number 6. Yattadadreshyamagrahyamagotramavarnam Yattadadreshyamagrahyam agotram avarnam Achakshushrotram tadapanipadam Achakshushrotram tadapanipadam Nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam Nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam Tadavyayam yadbhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha Tadavyayam yadbhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha. Again, yattadadreshyamagrahyamagotramavarnam Yattadadreshyamagrahyamagotramavarnam tadapanipadam. Sorry. Tat achakshusrotram tadapanipadam. Achakshusrotram tadapanipadam. Nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam. Nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam. Tadavyayam yadbhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha. Tadavyayam yadbhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha. He says, tat, yad, that which, that Brahman, that is Brahman. Okay, that Brahman is what? It says, adreshyam, not an object of perception. Drashyam, adreshyam, that which is not an object of any sense organs of perception. Eyes cannot see, nose cannot smell, ears cannot hear, tongue cannot taste, skin cannot, hands cannot touch, etc. Adreshyam, and then yat agrahyam. Agrahyam means which cannot be comprehended. In other words, that which is not the object of senses of action. Neither an object of senses of perception, nor an object for senses of action. Achakshusrotram, agrahyam, agotram, avarnam. Gotram means any lineage. That means unborn. That which is unborn. Agotram, avarnam. Varnaha means attributes. That which is devoid of, that which is free from any kind of attributes. Achakshusrotram. It cannot be object of our perception. But does it have senses of perception and senses of action? They say achakshuhu ashrotram cha. So it doesn't have any eyes and ears, meaning thereby it is not having any sense organ. Achakshusrotram, no senses of perception. Tad apanipadam, it is free from, it is devoid of. It doesn't have, pani means hands and padam means legs. It doesn't have hands and legs. Okay? So which doesn't have any organs of action nor any organs of perception. And he says, what it is then? Tad nityam, it is eternal. Tad vibhum, vividhena bhavati, which shines, which reveals, or as becomes as though, which is many, as though. Vibhum, sarvagatam, which is all pervasive, which is everywhere and in all times. Acha. And he says, susukshmam. It is sukshmam, subtle. Susukshmam, most subtle. In other words, it's subtlest, and that avyayam, that imperishable. Avyayam and aksharam means the same. That means that aksharam. That aksharam means Brahma. Yaya tad aksharam adhigamyate. This is the nature of Brahman. This aksharam or that aksharam is what? Yat Bhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha. Dhiraha, wise persons, or who have necessary qualifications to gain the knowledge. Wise persons. Sthita prajnaha, gnaninaha, paripashyanti. They see it, Brahman as bhutayonim, as a cause of all being. It is the cause of entire creation, bhutayonim. Whatever is caused by Brahman, and that Brahman is all this. Cannot be seen or cannot be perceived, cannot be comprehended. It has no birth, agotram, avarnam, without any attributes, doesn't have any organs of perception, doesn't have any organs of action. It is eternal, it shines as many, it is all pervasive, it is the most subtle, and it is aksharam, it is imperishable. That Brahman is known to be, seen to be, cause of everything. That means sarvam khalvidam brahma. This fact is seen by dhiraha. Paripashyanti dhiraha. And that, what is that Brahman? All other words are revealing Brahman. What is that? Yattadadreshyam agrahyam agotram avarnam achakshushrotram tadapanipadam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam yad avyayam tadavyayam. All that is Brahman. That Brahman is seen as the cause of entire creation. How it is cause? That further it will be enumerated in the next mantra. But let us look at the nature of the Brahman. First is adrashyam. Na drashyam iti adrashyam. Not seen. In this, sarvagnanendriya dharvagnanendriyahi agrahyam. Not comprehensible, not known by any senses of perception. Okay, not an object of senses of perception. Agrahyam, not an object of senses of action. When you say these two words, that means the whole world is not Brahman. And now it says it is the cause of the world. That's a peculiar relationship, as I said. Everything is non-separate from Brahman, but Brahman is independent. Adreshyam agrahyam. You see, this whole world is, in Sanskrit, is called Panchabhautikam. Five-fold, or consisting of 5 bhutas. In other words, the world is with these attributes: Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa and Gandha. Either there is a sound, there is a touch, Shabda, Sparsha, form, taste or smell. And you say by senses of action also you cannot comprehend. That means it has no form also, not comprehensible. That means it is not the world. In spite of being the cause of the world, it is not the world. It is our good old thing, B is A, but A is not B. Agotram, it is unborn. Gotram in the lineage. It has no cause. There is no moolam from which Brahman came. As they say, there is no moolam. Therefore, sannyasi has no gotra. You should not ask. In Gujarati, they say that the nadi nu mood and a sannyasi nu kood puchwa nahi. Why they say like that? Because it doesn't have. If Brahman, like river doesn't have the beginning, like Gangaji, when you say it comes from Gangotri Gomukh, it is just a figurative. If you happen to go there It's a huge glacier. I've been seeing it for the last 40 plus years. And that glacier has a cave like, huge cave like opening. And then that Gangaji comes from there. And they say this is Gomukham. This is the point where Gangaji came. I have often stayed overnight there. Just 2-3 kilometers. So you can go in the morning and spend time and then come back in the evening to Gangotri. Whenever I had gone in the morning, I have had a childlike desire to walk into that cave and see where from Gangaji comes. There is no mulam. We call this mulam, it is a figurative because we happen to see it from there. It doesn't have mulam. And sannyasi also doesn't have kulam. Why it is said so? Because supposedly sannyasi means one who knows Brahman, and Brahman is a gotram. He doesn't have any gotra. Whatever gotra he has is a gotra belonging to body. And that he is not the body, he or she. He is not the body. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, therefore we should not ask the kulam. That's a saying. Anyway, coming back to this. Yatadreshyama grahyama gotram avarnam. It has no attribute. Varna, varnyante iti varnaha. That by which you can describe it. Like even when you take a pen, you describe this is a small pen, it is very nib is very thick, it's a black color, etc. Gunas, qualities. When you say avarnyam, so it has no attribute, neither size, it is neither small or big, short or long, thin or fat, no qualities. And that means what? It is not any object of the world. Worldly objects have some quality, some attribute to describe them. By saying the word avarnyam, teacher is telling it is indescribable. You cannot describe it any which way. Achakshushrotram apanipadam. We have senses of perception to objectify the world. It doesn't have any sense of perception, therefore it cannot objectify the world. Of course, there is another reason. Because there is no world from its standpoint of view. Whatever is Brahman. And I cannot objectify myself. Therefore, it is said, Achakshushrotram apanipadam. It has no senses of action also. Hands and legs are missing. Therefore, there is a vakya in the Shruti. Paschatya chakshuhu shrunoti akaranaha. It sees without having ear. It sees without having eyes. And it hears without having ears. It's a figurative use. Now the question comes, if it is so, no attribute, no form, no senses of perception, no senses of action, and you cannot comprehend it through any sense organ, is it shunyam? You can use all these words to describe something which is non-existent. Like our Swami is Gagabugai. Then you say, what is Gagabugai? Gagabugai is Lodolodai. Then you ask him, what is Lodolodai? Then it says, what is Lodolodai? Todotodai. It was whatever whatever twist you can give tongue, that is a synonym for Gagabugai. Then you may ask it, Can we see it? No. Can we hear it? No. Can we listen? Can we taste it? No. Can I comprehend through my hands and legs? No. Whose son or whose father it is agotram. What are other attributes? Long or short or tall or, tall or short or fat or thin or whatever. There's no attributes. Agotram avarnam. Does it have eyes and ears? Achakshusrotram. Does it have hands and legs? Apani padam. That is what it is. If it is so, that means so far all these words reveal that Brahman, but creates a doubt or a possibility of Brahman being shunyam, a non-existent thing. Gagabugai is non-existent. Vandhya Sutaha is at least some form, that is a gotra is there, Vandhyayaha Sutaha. And then is a Sutaha, means son, that's a male. There is shape, etc. There can be some attributes. But this is a unique discovery of Swamiji, Puja Swamiji, Gagabugai, Lodolodai, Todotodai, Podopodai. You can go the whole alphabet, Kodokodai, Tototodai, and end up with die and start with any Kaka, Gaga, and then like our car number plates in India, they start with 2 alphabets and 3 and like A, Delhi D and DA and DB and DC and DD and DAA and DAAB and all kinds of things. Endless permutation Gagabugai has. Anyway, so it says no. It is not shunyam. It is not non-existence. It is nityam. Nitya means avinashi. It is imperishable. It cannot be destroyed by anything. That avinashitvam, its status of imperishability, is explained in this famous verses, 2 verses of Bhagavad Gita. When Gita says, Nainam chindanti shastrani, Nainam dahati pavaka, Nachainam kledayanti apaha, Na shoshayati marta. Panchamahabhutas cannot. And anything created out of Panchamahabhuta cannot destroy it. Nityam avinashi. Vibhum vividhena brahmadi sthavaranta prani bhedaihi bhavati. It as though becomes many. What many? Brahmadi sthavaranta. Beginning from Brahmaji to sthavara, something immovable, that it becomes many. It is eternal and it has become everything, not many. It has become everything. What everything? Whatever is seen, whatever is experienced, whatever is perceived, that is, you can say, manifestation of that Brahman, sarvagatam. It is all pervasive. There is nothing. Where it is, there is no place. Sarvagatam means sarva vyapakam. Sarva means it pervades everything. And everything that is, that was, and that will be. When you say sarva vyapi, when we say all pervasive, it implies it is beyond time and it is beyond space. That which is beyond time and space is sarvagatam. That means that which pervades the very time and space is sarvagatam. Okay? And then he says, susukshmam. it is most subtle, subtler than the subtlest. Why? Because it is devoid of all attributes. Akashadi karanam gunaha. None of the gunas are there. Shabdadi sthulatvadi gunarahitatvat susukshmam. It is free from any qualities like touch and sound and touch and taste and form, etc. Or sthula, sukshma, thin and thick and etc., long and short and black and white, etc. It is free from any attributes. Tadavyam susukshmam, that Brahman. Can be space also. Space is sarvagatam. Space is nityam. Science took the space to be eternal. When that scientist came, he told it is not absolute, it's relative. Still some of them take it to be absolute. He says, no, space is relative, time is relative, but if when it was taken as absolute, that means all these words are applicable to Akasha also. Then you may say, is Brahman the space? He says, no. Yad avyam, imperishable, and yad bhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha. That Brahman is seen as, is recognized as bhutayonim, as the yoni, or as the cause of all bhutas. Bhu bhavati. Bhu means that which is, that which becomes, that is bhu. And that is bhutaha, from the verb bhu. That means is or becoming. And that bhutayonim, that is the cause of all beings, whatever is, today, tomorrow and yesterday. That is seen. That aksharam, avyayam means that aksharam, that Brahman is the cause of all beings, and by itself it is like this. By itself it is devoid of any attributes. It is free from any limbs, achakshu shrotram apanipadam. And that which is eternal, that which is all pervasive, that has become a many, that which is the subtlest is a bhutayoni. See, these words reveal a very, very peculiar nature of the creation and the relationship of the Brahman with the creation, with the world that you and I see, and the relationship of the world with the Brahman is very peculiar. Such Brahman cannot be the cause by itself. And still it is a cause of the creation. And if it is a cause, since it's a cause, therefore it can be all pervasive in the creation and may not be if it is intelligent cause. But then, since it's all pervasive, that means it should be non-separate from the creation. Then it says it is independent of the creation. This mantra reveals a peculiar relationship between the Creator and the creation. The creation is Mayikam, what it is saying, is revealed by this mantra itself. They say Shankara's Maya. This is not Shankara's Maya. It is your Maya that you say Shankara's Maya. And they say Shankara is Mayavadin. Shankara is Brahmavadin. What are you talking? Brahma, Shankara never tried to establish Maya. Shankara established that there is a Brahman. The Maya comes in because of this peculiar relationship between the world and the Brahman. And it is there to explain the relationship. Therefore, Swamiji used that it's only an ontological word. We will see all that in the next class tomorrow. I'm sorry, I'm really short of time, so I'll not be taking the class for 1 hour today. And the subject matter, topic being such, I need some time. So, next class, I have some commitment now. Corona is quite fairly gone from India, and I have first dose of vaccination, so there's a pressure to travel, and I have to travel. So we'll see you in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Namaste.